Well, we've got the final round of the 2021 Radical Cup Championship coming up in a few moments' time. Round 11 of the championship. We had round 10 earlier on today, and that was claimed the victory by the man who will start from pole position in this race, James Lay, who leads the championship on 394 points coming into this race. There are a maximum of 41 points available, 40 points for the win, plus one extra point for the fastest lap. And whilst James Lay leads the championship on 394 points, Will Hunt, mathematically, could also be the champion at the end of this one because he is on 377 points and he will line up based on their second fastest times from qualifying in 5th position on the grid. It's going to be a rolling start for these cars, which have already had their races at Snetterton, Brands Hatch. They went back to Snetterton again. They then were on Silverstone on the Grand Prix circuit rather than all the previous ones which were double headers. It was a triple header for them there, and then their final two races taking place here at Donington Park in what are pretty much ideal conditions still. Nice and warm, no signs of any rain. The odd little greyish cloud that's coming over, but it's a nice warm day here. So the cars are just heading on their formation lap. Let's just guide you through the grid then. It is the white and Dayglow orange car of James Lay that starts there on pole position, and race 1 retiree, number 2, Darren de Leon, it sits alongside. His car is white with the red and the blue flashes to it. Row 2 of the grid is the blue and lighter blue car, number 18 of Mark Williams, alongside the largely black and green car, number 7 in the hands of Fraser McFadden. The third row of the grid, it's white and blue for Will Hunt. That's an important car, number 21. Watch out for it because he could take the championship title away from James Lay, subject to what goes on over the course of these next few moments here. And then we will move on to the outside of that third row of the grid. It is car number 26, which is Nick Zapolsky. Nick's car is largely red and black with some gold flashes to it. The fourth row of the grid, car number 27, the black and red machine of Mackenzie Walker, who finished on the podium earlier on today, lines alongside the number 22 car, the car of Andy Lowe, which is white with some lighter blue flashes to it, just heading through shot there. He was the fastest, second fastest of the Fangio drivers in qualifying. And then onto the next row of the grid, which is row number 5, number 53, which is Ben Casely, lining up alongside 55, which is James Ockenden. The sixth row of the grid sees number 17, Gavin McAlpine, who had an interesting first race with a couple of spins along the way, but still managed to finish. Lining up alongside number 3, which is Paul Atherton, and the final row of the grid is number 40, which is James Hadley. He has got for company the number 4 car in the hands of Ben Stone. So that is the way that they line up for this final race of the championship season. It's been a great season for the Radical SR1 Cup, and as ever, it has been hugely competitive. This series, which first started out back in, 2013, was the first championship season that we had. The likes of Colin Noble Jr. was the champion that year, who's gone on to race in the likes of the European Le Mans series. Dan Vaughan, who we've seen racing in Porsche Carrera Cup, was runner-up to him in that particular year. And it's just gone from strength to strength to strength over the years. Last year's champion, the outgoing champion, James Pinkerton, is here this weekend, but he hasn't competed at all in 2021. Had a quick chat to him yesterday. He's hoping to be back on the grid racing something next year, was all he would say, but it'd be good to see James back, even if not in the Radical SR1 Cup. Good to see him back in the Radical Challenge, which is also on the programme this weekend here, having its penultimate race weekend of the season here at Donington Park. But the season's about to draw a close over the course of the next 20 minutes in the Radical SR1 Cup Championship. Round 11 of the season is just heading up towards Goddard's Corner. And are we going to see James Lay crown the champion? Could it be Will Hunt that will be crowned the champion? We will have to wait and see how the maths work out, subject to their finishing position. So neat 2x2 order, ready for the rolling start. Red lights are on the gantry on the right-hand side of your screens. And as the lights go out, which they do now, we get the race underway. James Lay doesn't get a bad start. Darren de Leon is pushing him, though, squeezing him as much as he can. And then jinks out to take as wide a sweep in towards Redgate Corner. And is he going to go for the lead of the race? He's running side by side with James Lay for the lead of the race and might squeeze his way through. They are still side by side onto the top of Hollywood and down through the Craner curves, but James Lay picks up the early race lead, and there's a big spin. Mark Williams has a big spin in the middle of the pack, having to take avoiding action goes Fraser McFadden. Nick Zapolsky also got tangled up in that there. I think they will all continue, but that has split the pack to a degree as James Lay leads the race Darren De Leon is there in second place, and who's there in third? Well, there's the stricken car of Mark Williams. He's going nowhere for the moment, but who's there in third? It's Will Hunt at the moment. So he has to finish ahead of James Lay to stand any chance of claiming the championship, and with Mark Williams stricken on circuit and Nick Sapolsky stricken on circuit, there is a possibility we might have to go full course caution, but for the moment, no chance of a safety car. The cars continue on their merry way as they head for the first time through the S's, but I'm hearing from race control that the safety car is indeed coming out. So, yeah, there it is on your screens. Safety car will be deployed to scoop up the car of Mark Williams and to scoop up the stricken car of the man from Alderley Edge as well, which is Nick Sapolsky, former driver who used to race in another different sports car championship. So, up towards the conclusion of the lap with the safety car boards out and yellow flags waving. There's instantly no overtaking, and they will have to just catch the safety car, which will be sitting at pit lane exit, I would imagine. Yeah, there it is, ready to scoop them all up. So weaving from side to side, trying to maintain the temperature in their Control Hankook tyres. A couple of seasons ago now, Hankook were announced as the global partner for the tyre supply on all Radical series that we see. Whilst Radical is a UK-based company based in Peterborough in Cambridgeshire, globally they have been such a success stories with championships not just in the UK but throughout Europe, into the Middle East, into America as well. You look into Scandinavia, there are championships as well. Far Eastern market, we see cars out there, and I'm sure there are probably some regional championships out in the Far East as well, but it really has been a global success, whether it be the bottom rung of the ladder as such in terms of Radical championships that we see, which is this SR1 Cup, or clambering through all the different models that they have available, the SR3, the SR10, the RXC, whether it be the coupes or the Spiders as well. So many different cars available, and Radical as ever, always on the front foot, always looking to move forward, and always providing that fantastic customer support as well. So James Lay, if he were to win this race, a long way to go yet, don't forget, but if he were to win it, then that's the championship done and dusted. If he were to finish in second place, even if Will Hunt wins the race, championship is done and dusted. If James Lay finishes in third place or fourth place, he is still the champion. Now, if he finishes in fifth place, James Lay, and Will Hunt wins the race, that's still not enough. But if he finishes in fifth place, Will Hunt wins the race and sets the fastest lap of the race, they would both be on 418 points. But at that point, Will Hunt would have 2 more wins than James Lay, so he would win the championship on countback. But it means that James Lay would have to finish fifth. Will Hunt would have to win the race and set the fastest lap. If he didn't set the fastest lap as well, it still wouldn't be enough. So that's the kind of position that we're in at the moment. As long as James Lay finishes in the top 4, he's good. Absolutely, he's good, and subject to official confirmation, of course, he would be the champion. But there's still plenty of racing to go. Shouldn't take long to scoop up the stricken cars of Nick Sapolsky and Mark Williams, and then we should be able to get the race back underway. I think Nick Sapolsky actually might not want scooping up. I think safety car lights are out already. I think he's managed to get his car back onto track and has now caught up with the tail end of the train. So it's just the one car that we lost, which is Mark Williams. So we've still got 13 cars in this race. Lights are off on the safety car, so we're about to get going once more. Keep your eyes on car number 21, Will Hunt. He will want to be in full attack mode. He will want to very quickly work his way past. There is Nick Sapolsky's car, so it has joined the tail end of the field. He will very quickly want to work his way past the number 2 car of Darrell De Leon, who is the leading rookie that we've got in the field at the moment. But of course, he can't overtake until the start-finish line on a restart, so he just has to make sure he can be a centimetre behind. You can't have your nose ahead, however. We get the race back underway, final round of the championship, 15 minutes to go, and James Lay gets his foot down, gets on with it straight away. Darren De Leon sitting there in second place, Will Hunt third, Mackenzie Walker in fourth place. The leading driver in the Fangio Trophy is the number 22 car of Andy Lowe, who's there in fifth place. James Ockenden looking to try and make progress there as he looked to try and squeeze his way through and past Paul Atherton's car, which he managed to do. So that's now Ockenden up into what will be 8th position. The number 3 car of Paul Atherton drops down into 9th place, but James Lay is on it straight away. He knows exactly what he needs to do, and if he can lead it from the front, then it makes things a lot easier for him. The one good thing is, whilst he's got Darrell De Leon not that far behind, he knows that Darren De Leon is not in this main championship squabble at the front, so he can just afford to bide his time and as long as he's not coming under pressure from Will Hunt, and even if Will Hunt were putting under pressure, if I was James Lay, I'd let Will Hunt go and just make sure you do enough. He knows what the maths will be absolutely coming into this race. Many drivers will say, well, we won't worry what the championship looks like until the final round. Well, this is the final round, which means that he will have embedded in his mind already all of the different championship outcomes and exactly what he needs to do in this race to make sure he would be the champion. So in towards the Melbourne hairpin. It's only the third lap that they are on at the moment. Running a little bit wide there is Paul Atherton, who is going to get picked off by the next couple of cars that sit behind, I would have thought. Ben Stone, I think, squeezing his way through there. So that means Atherton would have lost a couple of places on that lap. And Will Hunt isn't really making an impression on the lead too at the moment, is he? The number 21 car, the white car with its blue flashes, is sitting there in third place and has dropped a further half a second behind Darrell de Leon on that lap. 3 wide coming in towards Redgate Corner. That's the number 3 car of Paul Atherton. James Hadley is in there. Nick Sapolsky trying to thread the needle, goes between the pair of them as he heads out of Redgate Corner. Great driving from Nick Sapolsky. Wonderful stuff. Looked like he was going to get squeezed. He got a little bit out of shape as well, but threads his way at 2 for the price of 1 there for Nick Sapolsky, using all of that experience that he's had racing the likes of Ginetta GT5s in the past and Radicals over the course of the last season or so. The number 17 car as well. Oh, a little bit of contact there, was there, as all of a sudden the number 4 car started to falter as it came out of McLean's corner. Ben Stone, do wonder whether maybe the chain broke on that car there, because there was almost a touch between the two, and Ben Stone's car is out of the race, I'm afraid to say, which is an enormous shame for Ben Stone. So he parks the car up and is no more. That is the Rookie Cup Championship leader as well. But in the absence of Alex Spooner this weekend, should hopefully just about be enough, because the car that's third in the Rookie Cup standings, Darrell de Leon, only did the Silverstone round, so I think Ben Stone is absolutely assured the Rookie Cup for this year. Now, for the lead of the race, Darrell de Leon has gone through, and that has a bit of an implication now, because no longer does James Lay lead the race. He would now be on 429 points if he stayed where he was. Will Hunt would be on 407. Who's got the fastest lap of the race? Darrell de Leon. So the extra championship point is going neither one way nor the other in terms of the championship protagonists. But this is still not good enough for Will Hunt, sitting there in third position. And it's an enormous shame for Will Hunt, really, that he's not in a slightly stronger position, because he has, you look at the results, and arguably he's been just about the slightly better driver of the two. And the only reason he is behind James Lay in terms of the championship really is because of retirement that he had. And if this were a championship where you can drop your worst score, it would be very different. But the championship regulations say you have to count every single round, and they've been like that for a good number of years. And unfortunately for Will Hunt, he had a non-finish in the first of the 3 races at Silverstone, so he has been playing catch-up ever since, really. And to bring it to the final race of the championship season is still, a good result, really, for Will Hunt, who finished third in the championship last year. He was 4th in the championship in 2019. He finished third in it in 2018 as well. He's been around this series for a good number of years now, and looks as though he may well possibly be destined to finish as the runner-up this year, which would still be his best championship season, but he's going to be disappointed with that, because mathematically he's been in with a shout all season, really, and started the season so strongly with 2 wins at Snetterton and a further 2 wins at Brands Hatch. So he won the first 4 races of the championship season. So over the start-finish line comes Darrell de Leon. He has just posted a 1 minute 35.718 now as the fastest lap of the race, extending his lead margin to still only just under 9/10 of a second. So James Lay is not that far behind, but he knows full well that as long as he continues to circulate in second place and is just putting enough daylight between himself and Will Hunt, that's still enough for the championship. James Hadley coming under pressure from Gavin McAlpine. That's for the final place inside the top 10 as they dive their way down through the Craner curves. Number 40 car of James just ahead of Gavin McAlpine as they thread their way out of the old hairpin. Nick Zapolsky still making progress as well, following his off in that incident that he got involved with Mark Williams down through the Craner curves on the first lap. He's got past James Ockenden this time through, so that'll put Nick Sapolsky now up to 8th position. And the next of the cars he's going to want to try and catch is that little trio of cars that lie ahead. So Daryl de Leon out front and leading the race. 0.8 of a second, as you can see on the left of the screen there, is the gap between the pair of them. This is the fight I was talking about. This is Andy Lowe coming under attack from Fraser McFadden, and also the number 53 car as well, which is Ben Casely. Ben Casely, I think, might lose out here, as McFadden is going to squeeze his way through. Yep, so through has gone Fraser McFadden. Now Fraser McFadden is looking to try and attack Andy Lowe's car. Andy Lowe is leading the Fangio Trophy at the moment, and is quite comfortably leading that, actually. He's 5th. The next of the Fangio runners is all the way down in 11th place, which I think is Gavin McAlpine. Fraser McFadden sideways coming out of Redgate Corner, carries a lot more momentum onto the top of the Craner Curves, and Hollywood side by side midway through the Craners, but if the number 7 car of McFadden can hang on to it, he's got the inside line for the old hairpin, works his way through, gains the place. Good driving there from Fraser McFadden. Started this race in 4th position. Also got tangled up with the Mark Williams and Nick Sapolsky incident down through the Craner Curves early doors, and is now starting to work his way back up through the order. So he's back up into 5th position now. Not quite where he started the race. Another place game would do that, but he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to catch the next of the cars ahead, because it'll be about 5 seconds up the road, I would have thought. And that would be Mackenzie Walker's car, which is still out of shot at the moment. So in the sunshine here at Donington Park, heading down in towards the braking area for the S's, the number 53 car of Ben Casely. Jinx out to at least show the nose of it to Andy Lowe, but Andy Lowe will ignore what's going on in his mirrors, concentrate on the road ahead for sure. And the two of them are still pretty much rooted together as they head downhill in towards the braking area for the Melbourne hairpin. 20-minute race, 7.5 minutes to go, and a championship still up for grabs at this stage. Now, fastest lap of the race this time has gone the way of James Lay, who picks up the additional championship point for the moment. 1 minute 35.629. He closes to within a second of the race leader, Daryl de Leon. He was a 10.5 of a second quicker than him over the course of that lap, so the gap is coming down. So that would now put James Lay on 430 points in the championship if he stays where he is. That would be 23 points ahead of what Will Hunt will have amassed over the course of the 2021 championship season, all subject to official confirmation and of course the technical checks that need doing at the end of the race. But on the road, at least, it certainly looks as though James Lay is ever more taking a step towards the championship title for this year. Elsewhere down through the order, Andy Lowe still coming under attack from Ben Casely, who at the moment can't work his way inside the top 6, can he? So Ben Casely is still there in 7th position, having a good run in the rookie class. He's 2nd in the rookie category at this stage. The driver that leads the rookie category is the overall race leader, Daryl de Leon, who has had a mega first season, really, albeit just a part season from him. It'd be good to see Daryl back doing the full 2022 campaign if he's able to. So the only rounds we saw him at was the treble header that we had at Silverstone, where the Radical SR1 Cup joined the grid of the Radical Challenge, and trying to dive his way up the inside. Almost contact between the pair of them. They are still almost wheel to wheel. Ben Casely gathered up a moment there, and Andy Lowe, I think, avoided there being too much of a rub between the pair of them. They're still side by side heading up towards Goddard's, and normal service is resumed as far as Andy Lowe is concerned, which I think is probably fair, really, because Ben Casely was a little bit out of shape going in towards the Melbourne hairpin. The two of them briefly brushed off each other. They both gave each other enough room, and yeah, I think that Andy Lowe probably would have felt a little bit hard done by them. You can see the tyre mark down the side of Ben Casely's car there as the two got very close to each other. Andy Lowe running a little bit wide coming out of Redgate Corner. You can only do that so many times in the race before you are given a time penalty. But for the moment, I would imagine it's probably just a first warning for him. Ben Casely's coming back up the inside at the old hairpin. The two of them run side by side. He runs off the road. Also does Andy Lowe through the old hairpin, desperate to try and hang on to the position. Still side by side up towards Schwantz Curve, all the way around the outside at Schwantz for the inside line up towards McLean's, which is the next corner, and they are still side by side. Andy Lowe's pushed off line. Nick Sapolsky steals a place. Great stuff. 4.5 minutes to go. Nick Sapolsky now looking to try and unlock the door to try and gain a place. There's a squeal of tyres in the background, and Andy Lowe's gone round, I'm afraid. A full 360-degree spin from him. Hooks the gear, continues, doesn't lose a place. But for Ben Casely in his newly acquired 6th position, it might be short-lived, because Nick Sapolsky is absolutely in his wheel tracks. There were yellow flags in the background there, and that was a retirement. Try and work out who that was. I think it might have been Paul Atherton that retired. Nick Sapolsky sideways this time, heading in towards the Melbourne hairpin, trying absolutely everything to try and work his way through and ahead of Ben Casely. Is he going to try and do something on the run up towards Goddard's? He would have the inside line. Can he make it stick? Yes, he has. Through he's gone. Yep. So the red car of Nick Sapolsky through now, and that will put him up into 6th position, I think that will be now. Yes, it is. And it is indeed, yeah, Paul Atherton has retired, I'm afraid to say, on the run out of Coppice Corner. Casely's trying to reassert himself, though, back into 6th. He's down to 7th for the moment. New fastest lap of the race last time through to Darrell de Leon again, so he now picks up the fastest point, the extra point for the fastest lap of the race. 1 minute 35.447 for Darrell de Leon. So James Lay still in 2nd place, still in a championship winning position, and still not that far behind the race leader as they head out of Coppice Corner. This is a leading 3 coming towards us now. Darrell de Leon on course for what would be a debut win in the Radical SR1 Cup Championship. His first ever win in this championship as a rookie for this year. Less than a second though between himself and James Lay, and they'll be heading over the start-finish line to start the penultimate lap of the race this time through. So through the Melbourne hairpin. Didn't exactly grab the apex there, runs a little bit wide on the exit of the corner. James Lay still with him as they climb uphill and up towards Goddard's. Now James Lay will look to see whether he can get a bit of a tow off the race leader over the start-finish line. He'll get a bit of a tow, but he's way too far away to try anything at Redgate Corner. Nobody lapping faster than previous laps last time through to take fastest laps away. Big squeal of tyres in the background. Was that Will Hunt? Yeah, it might have been Will Hunt, maybe with a bit of a moment. Will was pushing on the previous lap. He just set his best individual lap of the race so far, and that was still only a 1/10 of a second away from the fastest lap of the race. So Will Hunt pushing hard, but yeah, I think that first sector, I think he might have had a bit of a moment up at Redgate Corner, because I think the gap 2nd to 3rd has increased a little bit more this time through. So they are on their penultimate lap of the race. We may well see the SR1s back out racing again this year, but that will just be an invitational race that they are eligible to join at Spa-Francorchamps in October, where the Radical Challenge will draw to a conclusion. So whilst those cars can compete in that race, it's not a championship round for them, so it is the last full championship round, but not necessarily the last race of the season for many of these drivers. But for James Lay, all of the hard work, and you know, everybody says consistency is what wins championships, and absolutely, you know, James Lay so far this season, 4 race wins now following the race win from earlier on, 3 second places, 2 third places and a 4th place. At the moment it's looking as though it's going to be good enough to stitch up the championship if you add this 2nd place to it as well. Whereas for Will Hunt, he might have had 4 race wins and 3 seconds, and 5 race wins, I should say, rather, and 3 second places, plus the 4th place from earlier on. But it's the DNF that's undone him, that did not finish at Silverstone. So we're on to the last racing lap of the championship season for Darrell de Leon, James Lay and Will Hunt. And I think Will Hunt probably knows that the inevitable is going to happen now, that whilst it might be his best championship year in the SR1 Cup, he is going to come up just short, I'm afraid. Been a good season from him, claiming more wins than anybody else, but that white car with its day-glow green flashes to it in the hands of James Lay is looking on course for a win in the first race of the weekend, a runners-up spot in the second race of the weekend, but now he's only half a lap away from, I think, putting the championship out of reach from Will Hunt, because it is looking as though... Oh, Will Hunt runs wide as well, coming out of Coppice Corner on the final lap. He will be able to dig his way back out of the gravel, but that is pretty much it now for Will Hunt. He will not lose a place, but that is it. It's dropped himself away from anything that might go on directly ahead of him. But up towards the penultimate corner on the final race of the season comes Daryl de Leon. He is on for what is going to be his first win in the Radical SR1 Cup, whereas for James Lay, he is on for the championship. We've still got squabbles going on further down through the order. Andy Lowe coming under pressure from James Ockenden as they head through Coppice Corner for the final time. But up towards the final corner, Daryl de Leon is on course for his first win of the season, but in second place, James Lay, subject to official confirmation, is the Radical SR1 Cup champion for 2021. He will know that the maths are good enough and will, subject to that official confirmation, there is your champion for the 2021 season. And what a great, consistent season it has been for James Lay. Andy Lowe and James Ockenden still busy fighting away to work out who's going to finish 8th and who's going to finish 9th. But as they head up towards Goddard, let's just keep an eye on the distance and see if we might be able to pick out whether Andy Lowe can hang on to it. Yes, he has. Yeah, Andy Lowe has just hung on to it on the charge to the flag. So good little fight all the way through the orders that we've had. But Daryl de Leon not only claims the win, he was the first of the rookies home as well. And he set the fastest lap of the race as well. But for number 39, that's where the celebrations will be going this weekend, because James Lay is going to be the champion at the end of this one, and following the footsteps of the 2020 champion, which was James Pinkerton. And it is, 4 wins for him, 4 second places, 2 third places, and his worst result of the season, a 4th position. And when your worst result of any one racing season is a 4th place, and that is the only time you finish off the podium, you are always going to finish in a very strong position indeed. So well done to James Lay. Commiserations to Will Hunt, who put up a fantastic fight for the championship, and I'm sure he will do the right thing and congratulate James Lay when they first meet each other again back in the assembly area, which they'll be doing, or back in the Parc Ferme area, which they'll be doing very, very shortly. So the cars will peel their way in towards the pit lane area. And once they have done so, we may well now have solved some of the technical issues that we're having. We might be able to give you a graphic for the results this time. If not, we can just verbally go through them. But the cars will be making their way down in towards the Parc Ferme area, where the standard regular checks will be done. There's lots of the team members wandering out to congratulate James Lay. They will know what it means for him. And hopefully we can confirm the results. Daryl de Leon claims the win, his first in the Radical SR1 Cup. But in second place, James Lay does enough to claim the championship. Third place goes the way of Will Hunt, and 4th place was Mackenzie Walker. 5th place was going to be the car of Fraser McFadden, that finishes in 6th place, with Nick Sapolsky recovering well after his moment to finish in 6th place. Ben Casely finished in 7th, in a busy race for him, as was the race for Andy Lowe, who finished in 8th place. James Ockenden finished in 9th place, and completing the top 10 was another James. It was James Hadley that finished in 10th position in the final race of the season for the Radical SR1 Cup. Paul Atherton retired out on circuit, I'm afraid, somewhere. Ben Stone finished in 13th position, also I think having had issues out on track somewhere. And also Mark Williams, as we saw with his incident on the very first lap, is just about to, I think, drive off the grass there in the background and work his way back into the paddock area. So that's it for the 2021 season for the Radical SR1 Cup Championship. It's been a great season. James Lay is the champion.